Some of the most famous road courses and street circuits in the country. Paved with asphalt or hardened concrete, the drivers concentrate on each other rather than the racing surface. But for the first time in supercar history, the series leaves the pavement for the dirt road of Pikes Peak, a hill climb where the surface changes as quickly as the 156 turns it takes to climb the 14,000-foot summit. And if a driver makes a mistake, it will be the first time he finds himself praying for a concrete wall to stop his fall. The Bridgestone Supercar Series is next. For the first time in the history of the International Motorsports Association, they will run on dirt. The Bridgestone Supercar Series makes its first run at Pikes Peak. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed, and that's right. The IMSA Bridgestone Supercar Series is running on the dirt at Pikes Peak, and it has been a hellacious week for all the drivers. First time on the mountain. You're going from 9,300 feet all the way up to 14,110. There's supposed to be plenty of practice, 3 days, then qualifying, 6 days in all. And you know what? We have not had one day where the weather has been perfect. In fact, for the first time in the history of the Pikes Peak Auto Hill Climb, the event will not go to the summit. We're going to stop about 3 miles short at the 16-mile mark up at Devil's Playground. For more on the conditions at the top of the mountain and why we had to shut down the upper portion of the race course, let's go to my partner, Bart Kendall.
Well, Marty, I'm up here at the finishing staging area, just past Devil's Playground, which is now the finish of this race. You can see behind me, here's part of the road that leads to the top. That portion has been closed by officials, and I tell you, it's for good reason. There's a lot of bad conditions up there. There's ice, there's steep drops, there's a lot of wind, and I drove at my rental car this morning and down to here, and I tell you, it was scary, even driving 20 miles an hour in a rental car. Here's a look at the type of conditions the guys will be facing just before they get to the finish. This soupy, kind of loose substance. The cars will be sliding around a lot, and it should nonetheless be a real wide-eyed experience for these first-time Bridgestone Supercar competitors.
Let's show you what the race course looks like. It starts down at 9,390 feet.
And after that will be the first look that these guys get at the track. You first have a tree line section which leads up into the ski area. After that, you have some high-speed, sweeping-type corners leading you up into Glen Cove. After Glen Cove, you get above the tree line into what we call the W's, big switchbacks back and forth, and then they'll head up to Devil's Playground where they'll finish this year's hill climb. In years past, we went to the top 14,110 feet. You see how the track goes up for another 3 miles up to there. However, this year, we won't finish there.
So now you know what the race course looks like. Let's give you an idea what the weather is like, and that is rain off into the distance, and you can see the range of temperatures and wind conditions. The weather for the last 6 days, quite frankly, well, it's just been flat awful. Practice is divided into 3 days normally, with qualifying on the 4th. And while it's common for the weather to make its presence known from time to time, never in the 73-year history of the event had Mother Nature displayed such a cruel fury. Snow, sleet, rain, hail, and winds up to 50 miles per hour wreaked havoc with the practice schedule. Storms reached all the way to the starting line area where hail damaged the Bridgestone support trailer, tearing a brand new canvas canopy to shreds and twisting the metal supports like pretzels. And for first-time supercar drivers with little knowledge of the mountain or what to expect, it was an eye-opening experience. Elliot Forbes Robinson summed it up best.
This is the first time I've come to a racetrack where the snow was building up on the windshield, and they gave me the green flag anyway.
EFR always with a line. Let's take a look at the Supercar Championship points. A 6-point lead for Sean Hendricks over Randy Pope. Sean Rowe, Peter Farrell, and Shane Lewis round out the top 5. There is 6 through 10. Now, Doc Bundy and John Schneider are not racing here at Pikes Peak. They decided to pass on the event. We have a field of 9 vehicles. We'll show you action from all 9. In fact, the first one will be the top qualifier, Sean Hendricks. Sean, 30 years old, from Easley, South Carolina. And you're going to notice the big difference is he's not running his usual BMW. He is running a Dodge Stealth 4-wheel drive. And as the top qualifier, he had the choice of starting first or going last.
Well, I think the Stealth is really going to help him because it is all-wheel drive and the conditions here. But I also think the reason he went first is he really wanted to set down a time that people were going to have to shoot for. And if weather rolled in, he'd be that much more solid in front.
Now back at the starting line, Andy Pilgrim from Cooper City, Florida, 38 years old. And normally he drives a Lotus, but Team Lotus bypassed the event. So he is actually in the street stock version version of the Mazda RX-7 owned by competitor Peter Farrell.
Now, Andy also is in the points chase here, and he really wanted to make sure he didn't lose points. That's why he wanted to come here. So he's told me, look, I just want to finish this race. This place is pretty intimidating. I'm going to play it safe.
And he's at a definite disadvantage in that street stock version. Coming up to Sean Hendricks at the halfway picnic grounds, and he is at 91 miles an hour.
One thing to keep in mind is all these competitors today are on the same tire, a Bridgestone Potenza street tire, which is pretty impressive for this first time up the mountain.
Back at the starting line from Kent, Washington, 35-year-old Ed Zabinski. And Zabinski in another Mazda RX-7 Turbo, as Zabinski qualified 8th at 6 minutes, 29.4 seconds.
One of the advantages that the RX-7 Turbo has is on top-end speed. With the turbo, you're going to see some good traps through the speed time.
Now Zabinski making his way through what is known as Engineer's Corner. The sun has come out, and that is rare this week. Back to the halfway picnic grounds. This is Andy Pilgrim, and he's at 88 miles an hour. You can see the difference in speeds with that street stock version, a little bit slower than Sean Hendricks.
And as Andy Pilgrim goes by, we'll check the progress of the other competitors. You see Sean Hendricks has gotten up to Glen Cove, Andy Pilgrim through the ski area, and Ed Zabinski has just started his run.
And here we are at Glen Cove, and this will be the time to beat at the halfway point. It is 5:42.8 for Sean Hendricks, and that's what everybody else will be shooting for as he continues his way up the mountain here at Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs. Stay with us when we come back. More of round number 4 of the Bridgestone Supercar Series. Today's ESPN Speed World event is being brought to you by Bridgestone, the next revolution in tires. Marty Reed and Bart Kendall back with you at Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs. You're looking down at Sean Hendricks as he makes his way up the mountain. Now remember, Bart talked a little earlier about the fact these guys are all on the same tire. Well, he means it, literally.
In racing, you often hear manufacturers say that they like to take what they learn on the racetrack and apply it to their street technology. Sitting in front of me is a pair of Bridgestone RE71 street tires. This tire right here, all that's been done to this tire, it's been shaved down to a racing tread depth of 2/32 of an inch. This is the type of tire you'll find in the Bridgestone Supercar series racing on all the paved racetracks. This tire right here, on the other hand, looks exactly like a street tire, and that's no accident, because this is the same tire you can go into your tire store, buy, and put on your street vehicle. So basically, at Pikes Peak, we're racing a very regular tire up a very irregular racetrack.
Especially after all the rain. Look at Sean Hendricks with that four-wheel drive. The one thing he was concerned about earlier in the week was reliability of the car. Well, he is just about 2 turns away from making it to the finish line here at Devil's Playground.
Now, though Sean does have some experience on dirt, he doesn't have any experience at Pikes Peak, and because there was concerns about the reliability, he chose to skip several of the practice sessions, so he is really seeing this racetrack in full for the first time.
So the Easley, South Carolina resident is going to set the time to beat as he heads for the finish line here at Pikes Peak, and the margin is, as he stops the clock, 9:34.5. So that's the mark that everybody else is going to be shooting for. Next down on the starting line, it is Sean Rowe from Jacksonville, Florida. He's 27, and he is going to be in the Greenwood Corvette.
Yeah, Sean actually got off to a great start this year. He won the first 2 events in 1995. He won Sebring and he won Long Beach. He's only been racing for about 7 years, and I'm sure he's never seen anything quite like Pikes Peak.
Until your first trip, no one has seen anything like Pikes Peak. Through Engineer's Corner. Uh-oh, looks like he may have lost a gear, but he's back underway.